My name is Casey, and this is Migrant Matters, a podcast making news surrounding migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers accessible and making change tangible. In today's episode, we delve into the year-long issue of the Italy-Albania Migration Deal. This episode will be broken down into 3 areas. What is the Italy-Albania Migration Deal? Who are the key players? And what exactly is wrong with it? This deal was agreed upon in November 2023 and finalized in February of 2024. This deal entails Italy having the ability to send up to 3,000 migrants picked up from international waters to be shipped to Albania. Once in Albania, migrants will go through reception centers and detention centers where they will be helped while working on their asylum applications for Italy. Those who have their asylum requests succeed and passed will then be allowed to enter Italy, while those rejected will be sent back to their country of origin, unless their country of origin is not deemed safe, in which that individual will then be sent to a different country. For example, the cited countries that are too dangerous to send migrants back to are currently Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, and Cameroon. As of right now, only adult men who are not deemed quote-unquote vulnerable are sent to Albania when they're picked up in international waters. This idea of being deemed vulnerable is a point I will get to later on in this episode. The Italian government budgeted 650 million euros, which is the equivalent to over $700 million, for this 5-year deal. However, in total, it could cost 1 billion euros. So it begs the question, maybe they could put those 1 billion euros somewhere else. Maybe they could improve their own country's asylum process? Just a thought. While this occurs in Albania, Italy will have full control of the area and land the reception and detention centers occupy. So who are the parties involved? There are 2 main people involved in this migration deal, and that is Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama. Meloni has been serving as Italian Prime Minister since October 2022. She has led the right-wing group Brothers of Italy and identifies as a conservative. She is opposed to many things like same-sex marriage and parenting, and she is also opposed to quote-unquote illegal immigration. She links immigration to a rise in crime and human trafficking in Italy. In January of 2017, she even went as far as saying that the left-wing groups of Italy want to replace Italians with immigrants, something that she refers to as a quote-unquote ethnic substitution. Rama has been the Prime Minister of Albania since 2013 and has been the chairman of the Socialist Party of Albania since 2005. So then this brings up the question, what do Italy and Albania even get out of this deal? For Italy, they get rid of their pesky immigration problem. Italian officials phrase this as relieving overcrowding. However, Meloni herself believes that this migration deal would benefit Italy by deterring migrants from coming to Italy. If Italy makes it a headache to get there, why would anyone try? It's not like people are already taking incredible risks in leaving their country of origin, and I use heavy sarcasm here. Albania, on the other hand, gains points in its favor as it currently is not a member of the European Union, but by doing this deal with Italy, it is showing its readiness as a nation to help the European Union. Some Albanians feel that this migration deal is also a way of thanking Italy, as Italy took in many Albanians in 1991 during the fall of communism. So what's wrong with this? For starters, seeking asylum is enshrined in international law. In the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted in 1948, Article 14 states, quote, "Everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution," end quote. So that's just a fact. No matter how much an individual hates the idea of migrants, though we could delve into a whole other issue of how selective people are with their feelings on migrants, it is enshrined in international law that everyone has the right to seek asylum in the face of persecution. Legal and advocacy advisor with the International Rescue Committee, Flaminia Delecese, stated, quote, "The Italian centers for asylum seekers in Albania should not exist in the first place. moving people to closed centers away from EU soil jeopardizes the basic human right to seek asylum, effectively detaining individuals for their attempts to find a safe haven and protection." End quote. While Albania may gain points in its favor with the EU, ultimately shipping migrants from international waters away from their destination and to a location outside of the EU poses a threat. Not only that, but this goes against Article 14 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Italy-Albania Migration Deal differs from the United Kingdom's Rwanda Plan, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically kind of the same thing, and I do have an episode on the Rwanda Plan. However, I would like to note that the Rwanda Plan is not happening anymore. It has been canceled. But for all intents and purposes, migrants involved with the Italy-Albania Migration Deal do get to apply for asylum in Italy, whereas with the Rwanda Plan, the migrants had to stay in Rwanda. However, while it may seem to be a silver lining that migrants involved in the Italy-Albania Migration Deal have the possibility to get to Italy, let's take a look at their success rates. According to infomigrants.net, the Italian Refugee Council, or the CIR, stated that they had 41,415 asylum applications in 2023. 49.8% of those were rejected. 11.9% were recognized as refugees. 14.9% received benefits from subsidiary protection statuses, and 23.4% gained special protection status. While Italian officials may stress that migrants can be approved to move to Italy from the detention centers in Albania, ultimately, the success rates don't exactly make this seem all that promising. In an article by AP News on October 23, 2024, they write that 12 migrants who were placed in the Albania centers were actually brought back to Italy 3 days after arriving in Albania. Judges in Rome, quote, rejected their detention, arguing that their countries of origin, Bangladesh and Egypt, were not safe enough for them to be sent back, end quote. This returns us to the idea of vulnerability and who qualifies as vulnerable. The Italy-Albania Migration Deal stated that the only people eligible to be moved to Albania are men who are not deemed vulnerable. Additionally, there is no system in place to determine who is vulnerable and who is not. Furthermore, every refugee is vulnerable, even if they may not physically look like it. Migrants who have already gone through so much in their country of origin and regarding their journey from their country of origin to seek asylum pose risks of having post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as other mental and physical health issues. According to an article in infomigrants.net, 14 sea rescue organizations such as SOS Mediterranean, Mediterranean Saving Humans, and SOS Humanity stated that they believe those migrants rescued at sea should all be considered vulnerable. Quote, minors, unaccompanied minors, disabled people, old people, pregnant women, single parents with children, victims of human trafficking, people with serious illnesses, people with severe mental disturbances, people who have been subjected to torture, rape, or other serious forms of violence, either psychological, physical, or sexual, and victims of female genital mutilation, end quote. Some of these issues plaguing migrants may not appear physically, so the Italian officials selecting which men are vulnerable and which are not is inherently flawed when vulnerability isn't always a quality one wears on their forehead. Lastly, in the statement by 14 sea organizations, they write, quote, according to the procedures laid down in the agreement, on board the military vessel Libra and on board the Italian patrol boats, the conditions do not exist for an adequate assessment of a person's state of health to be carried out. In fact, there are no medical facilities, no private confidential screening spaces, and no equipment to diagnose or treat critical medical conditions and pathologies, acute or chronic. End quote. Author Khalid Hosseini stated, quote, refugees are mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, children, with the same hopes and ambitions as us, except that a twist of fate has bound their lives to a global refugee crisis on an unprecedented scale, end quote. Mexican-American author and journalist Jorge Ramos said, quote, the greatest nations are defined by how they treat their weakest inhabitants, end quote. Firstly, at the heart of supporting migrants is the fundamental principle of human rights. Every individual has the right to seek safety, freedom, and a better life, especially those fleeing from conflict, persecution, or disaster. By supporting migrants, we uphold the values of compassion and solidarity, recognizing their plight and affirming their dignity as human beings. Assisting migrants fosters an environment where everyone can thrive regardless of their origins. Additionally, supporting migrants helps counteract xenophobia and discrimination. By fostering inclusive policies and practices, we combat misinformation and stereotypes that often surround migrant populations. Supporting migrants is not just a moral obligation. It is essential. Migrants have the right to seek asylum and have the right to safety after surviving such trauma. Shipping them to other countries has not been and will never be the answer. Hopefully, we find that the Italy-Albania Migration Deal takes the same path as the Rwanda plan and just completely falls flat. But thank you for listening, stay informed, and stay safe out there.